So if you can believe it, Georgia Tech pulled off the upset again. Second year in a row that they ended Miami's undefeated season. So what I'll do today is I'm going to explain why Miami Hurricanes fans should not be too concerned. You can just throw this game in the trash and just move on to the next game. So don't be too concerned about it. And then also I'm going to be explaining whenever I watch a game, I always keep notes, and I'm just going to be going over some of the plays that just stood out to me, and also some of the thoughts that I had while watching the game. Okay, so first, my name is Jordan Harris, your favorite host in the entire world, and this is Sports Truth. So the first thing I want to do is, oh yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate it. So first, I want to talk about why this game needs to just be thrown in the trash and we can move forward. If you remember at the beginning of the season, actually before the season even started, this is week 0, I projected that Georgia Tech was going to beat Florida State. And this is when Florida State was ranked in the top 10 in the nation, and everybody thought they were really good. I predicted Georgia Tech was going to beat them. And if you ask why, it's because Georgia Tech is what I call a wild card game. The reason why that is because if you remember back when, I think his name was Paul Johnson, was coaching Georgia Tech, and they ran that weird triple option the entire game when they would throw the ball like 5 or 6 times in a game and run it like 50 times every game. It's real hard to get up and play against that type of team because one, they run the clock out the entire game. All they're doing is just sitting on the clock. And then also, your players are so not used to playing this style of football of sweep left, sweep right, fake sweep, run up the middle, fake sweep, fake sweep. Now I'm going to do a screen. Like that's all they do is go left and right the entire game. So that kind of stuff is so hard to scheme for it because you're so not used to it that you can get beat by it. Teams like Georgia Tech will never win anything. I'm just telling y'all right now, and you can call it sour grapes, and that's fine. Georgia Tech, teams like this will never win anything. They'll go, they'll hover around 500 every year. They'll replace their coaches every 5 years. Um, but the one thing that they will do is they will upset big name schools. It happens all of the time. Very consistent that this happens. Georgia Tech now and Georgia Tech back when Paul Johnson was coaching them, they could go and beat Georgia this week and then lose to Wake Forest the next week. It's just all about the matchup because of that weird offense that they run. And I had that thought process before this game even. I was like, I know the Hurricanes are far more talented than Georgia Tech, but this style of football that they play where they want to run it all game, they play some pretty good defense, they sit on the clock, they reduce your possessions. Anybody in the country could lose to Georgia Tech because of this weird style of football they play. The reason why I think you should throw this game away is because we're not going to see a team play like this for the rest of the season. If we played against, let's say, Wake Forest next week, they're not going to play like this. We play against Syracuse, they're a passing team. They're not going to play like this. If we just so happen to get into the football playoffs, the college football playoffs, and we get matched up against, let's say, Georgia, Georgia's not going to play like that. We're not going to see any other team that plays like Georgia Tech plays for the rest of the year, and we didn't see that prior to this game. Okay, so throw this game away. They have Georgia Tech credited on here. I looked it up just a little bit ago. Let me make sure I have my numbers right. They have Georgia Tech credited for 16 passes attempted and 48 run plays. We're not going to play anybody who plays that style of football. It's just not going to happen. Unless we get matched up against like an old school Big Ten team like Penn State might do something like that. Michigan would do something like that, but Michigan is trash now, so we're not concerned with them. But they have, like I said earlier, they have them credited for 16 passes, but please note that those plays that look like run plays when the receiver starts on one end and he takes off running and then the quarterback gets the snap and then tosses it up to him or hands it off to the receiver, those are actually considered passing plays. They're not, I mean, they look like run plays, but they consider those pass plays. And I saw probably 5 of those this game. So they really only threw the ball 10 or 11 times the entire game. All right. So let's throw this game away and let's go ahead and move forward. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that it might sound eye opening, but it's as simple and plain as it can possibly be. All right. So this is what happens in sports. What happens in sports is the things that you've been concerned about all year long will eventually lose you a football game or a basketball game. Doesn't matter what the sport is. If you're a fan of the Kansas Jayhawks and you're watching your team struggle with rebounding all game, and you think, oh yeah, they've been struggling with rebounding, but we've been winning every game. Eventually, somebody's gonna beat you, and the reason why they beat you is because they out rebounded you 50-20. That's just how it goes. And in this game, what have we been concerned about all year? We've been concerned about Cam Ward having to be Superman every game. We've been concerned about the fact that the offense has performed so crazy, like just 50 points here, 45 points there, 56 points there, and we've been barely winning games. So we're like, what happens if Cam Ward isn't Superman one day? What if he comes down a level? What happens then? That happened today. He had a bunch of misses. He overthrew players. He missed open receivers. He was late on some throws. He was just off today, and we lost the game partly because of that. What else were we concerned about this year? Concerned about defensive tackling. It was horrible today. What else were we concerned about? We were concerned about defense taking angles. It was horrible today. What else were we concerned about? We were concerned about Coach G's play calling, trying to get too cute. It was terrible today, and it hurt us. So those are the things we've been concerned about, all this stuff the entire year, and finally it all jumbled up and caused us to lose a game. It is what it is, okay? So now let's go into some of the things that I noticed throughout the game, I'm sorry. So the first thing that I wrote down on my notes, I put another 50-yard play, and it was a run right up the middle. And when that happened, I was like, oh boy, here we go. We're going to be in for a long night or a long day, I should say, because I knew Georgia Tech was not going to throw the ball. They already said that their starting quarterback had shoulder problems, and it wasn't about him getting tackled. They were concerned about him throwing it. So I was like, oh, they're going to run the ball almost every play, just like Paul Johnson did. This new coach that Georgia Tech has. He is Paul Johnson Jr. That's all he is. He'll be around for probably 4 or 5 more years. Georgia Tech will get tired of going 500 every year, and then they're going to bring somebody else in. But anyway, another 50-yard play right on the first possession of the game. They walked right down and scored a touchdown. Super frustrating, but it happened. It is what it is. Okay, the next thing that I have on here was Cam Ward's long touchdown throw to Arroyo. And that looked like, to me when I saw it, I was like, I don't know if he meant to throw it to him. I thought he was late for one, and I thought he was trying to throw it to Sam Brown, and he threw it behind Sam Brown, and it just so happened that Arroyo was there, caught it, and scored a touchdown. You can go and look at that play if you want to, but to me it looks like he was throwing to Sam Brown, and he missed him, threw it behind him, and Arroyo just so happened to catch it and take off running. After that play, I'm thinking, okay, that was an off throw, so hopefully he's not off today. And then I was also thinking, this defense has to do something. We're not going to go back and forth with this team. We can't just be going touchdown, 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 touchdown all game. Defense got to figure something out. They got to figure out a way to get off the field. That was my thought process after that. The next play I thought was pretty cool. It was the next drive. Cam Ward got the ball. And, I'm real big on pre-snap motion. We don't do a whole lot pre-snap motion, but we did have – it looks like Cam Ward is doing an excellent job of reading what's happening pre-snap. And a lot of times you'll hear like Aaron Rodgers saying, down, set, hot, hot, hot. He's doing that and he's seeing what the defense is going to do right before the snap. But in college football, you see a whole lot of clapping. So you'll see, I think it was a second possession for Miami. You see Cam Ward draw his hands back and fake clap. And then one of the cornerbacks starts sneaking up like he was going to blitz. And Cam Ward stopped, pointed at him. And then the offensive line made their adjustment. He snaps the ball and throws it right to that player that the defensive back was guarding. It was Xavier Restrepo, I think, on that play. So I thought that was pretty cool, seeing the cat and mouse game right before the play on that. There was one of the thoughts that I had during this game. One of my least favorite things in football, especially when you have a high powered offense, I hate running the ball on 2nd and 10. I hate it. I don't dislike it. I hate it. I know you got to keep the defense, got to keep them honest. I understand that. But when you have a high powered offense that's capable of getting a first down on every play throwing the ball, I don't like the idea of quote unquote throwing away a down on 2nd and 10 and then setting everything up on the almighty third down play. I hate that. So, first down, you throw the ball incomplete. Second down, you run the ball, you get 4 yards. Now it's 3rd and 6. And if you don't get this first down, you got to punt it. You know what I'm saying? It's all down to one play. I don't like that at all. So I prefer, if you're gonna run the ball, throw the ball on first down. 2nd and 3, go ahead and run it. 2nd and 4, go ahead and run it. 2nd and 5, go ahead and run it. I do not like running the ball on 2nd and 10. The odds of getting that first down are slim to none, especially with our team. Then you're setting everything up on one play. I don't like it. Okay, so that's my thought process on that. Um, the Georgia Tech ended up doing a trick play where they did a reverse to the quarterback, and then the quarterback ended up throwing it to. It was just some weird looking play right in the first quarter, and Miami actually, I thought they did pretty well with that. Like the defense, just looking at it because I kept rewinding it and watching it over and over and over. It was a pretty cool offensive scheme where it would have been easy for a defensive player to lose discipline and focus on what's going on in the backfield and leave somebody wide open. But all of the players stayed on who they were guarding and they ended up stopping it for maybe a gain of 5 or something when it really could have gone for a touchdown. So I thought that was pretty impressive. I like to give them credit wherever I can because there's so many times when I watch this defense and it drives me crazy. But anyway, the next play, we had a targeting, well, multiple targeting reviews. And what I typed on here is we've got to relax. We got to relax on this targeting stuff. It feels like every every game there's 2 or 3 reviews for targeting. It's like every time a player's helmet hits the other player's helmet, they have to review it for targeting. If you're tackling people, eventually your head is going to hit the other player's head. It's a part of the game. And they want to make everything a targeting call. And it's like, bro, relax. Like, let them play football. Relax. I think it was 2 targeting reviews this game. And luckily, neither one of them went against the Hurricanes. But whether they're reviewing a targeting call against the Hurricanes or for the Hurricanes, I find myself saying, y'all have got to relax. Unless it's like this egregious thing that we have seen before where a player just puts his head down and like spears his way. He like leaves his feet and spears his way into somebody else's head. Then I'm like, okay, he's doing too much. But if you're simply making a tackle and your helmet hits the other guy's helmet, we got to relax on reviewing all that stuff. We've got to relax on that. The next thing that I want to talk about here is so the score was 10-7, and I think it was the second quarter. Score was 10-7. Georgia Tech had the ball, 3rd and 9. And this is one of those times where I say that Coach G, okay, I feel like Coach G panics and does too much. I think he's trying to be a hero a whole lot of the time. And what I think it's going to do is I think it's going to get him fired. I really believe so. He was outstanding last year. He was actually the main reason why so many of our games stayed close because our quarterback kept throwing interceptions every game. And he was able to keep these games close even though we were turning the ball over 3 or 4 times a game. This year, he's being too cute. He's trying to do too much. It's 3rd down, 3rd and 9. You know that this team loves to run the ball. You know that their quarterback cannot throw the ball very well. You know the other guy that's coming in to throw the ball is a freshman, so he's not the greatest thrower. So why on a 3rd and 9 with a quarterback who prefers to run the ball. Why would you perform a stunt? Just go and watch the play. Why would you perform a stunt with the left defensive end circling around the defensive tackle and go towards the middle of the line of scrimmage? If you know the importance of rush integrity, where you need to make sure that you're rushing from this perspective just as well as you're rushing from this perspective, and you want everything to be even and funnel the quarterback into the pocket. If you know that that's important and you want to keep the quarterback in the pocket, why on earth would you ever not blitz, but have the defensive end? Please go watch the play. It was 3rd and 9. I think it was the second quarter. Georgia Tech had the ball approaching the red zone or in the red zone. He had the left defensive end, instead of running straight ahead or looping around, he has him run behind the defensive tackle and rush towards the middle of the field. So what ended up happening? As soon as that defensive end looped around and went this way, the quarterback saw that and ran right where he was at for a first down. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Maybe I should have had some kind of diagram on the screen. But the quarterback ended up running exactly where the defensive end would have been. He left our left side of the field, quarterback's right side of the field, wide open because he took that defensive end who should have been containing him and he made him circle into the middle of the defensive line. That was I don't like to say people are dumb. I don't like saying people are stupid. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that decision was idiotic. It was dumb. The quarterback wants to run the ball. He does not want to throw it. He wants to run it. So why would you give him a free lane to run? And if you give him a free lane, why would you give him the free lane outside where there's no help there? It's just, it's doing too much. It's trying to be cute. It's doing too much. Relax, Coach G. Relax. You don't have to sell out and try to make the big play and make everybody call you the super brain genius. Just play it bare bones, man. It's good enough. You're doing too much. Okay. Let me get off of that, man. So, as you can see, that play irritated me quite a bit. So let me talk about the next play. So it was 10-7, and then they ended up scoring a touchdown to make it 10-14. On that touchdown, Kiko he takes a bad angle. He has help behind him, but then he slips and misses the guy totally. And since his help was coming and he slipped, it didn't give his defenders or his help enough time to get over to actually make the tackle. Because like I said before in previous videos, this defense has got to learn how to take angles, but they've got to learn how to appreciate where their leverage, where their help is. They've got to learn how to appreciate that better. Instead of running up on the ball carrier and just blasting through him and whiffing with just a quick little sidestep of the defender or of the ball carrier, instead of doing that, run up to the ball carrier, break down, and make him have to make a quick decision on, do I go left, do I go right? That split second gives your defensive players more time to come in to gang tackle. If you just go watch one NFL game, you will see this all game, every game. Just go watch the Detroit Lions and see how they pursue the ball. Their first player does not come in diving at the defender like crazy, whiffing in half of a second, split second, and then giving the defender just free reign to do whatever he wants to do after that. What they do is they run up to him, they know where their help is, and they say, my help is on the right, my help is on the left side. Whatever you do, ball carrier, you're not going to go that way because I don't have any help over there. There was a play that I wanted to talk about where Jacoby George caught a pass, maybe like an 8-yard pass. Then he turned and looked at the defender. The defender was a defensive back, probably not the greatest tackler, But Jacoby George caught the ball on the numbers, and he turned and faced the defender. The defender knew Jacoby George he couldn't go left because Georgia Tech's players were on the left and they were pursuing the football. So Jacoby George faked left and tried to go to the right where there was no help. And what do you think the defender did? He jumped all the way to that side, almost out of bounds, saying, if you get past me, that's fine, but you're not going to get past me on the side where I don't have help. I don't know why it is, but our players cannot figure that out. We cannot figure that out. We don't understand. I'm here on the numbers. I don't have help on this side. So if he jukes me this way and I go that direction and he runs that way up the sideline, I have no help and he's probably going to score. Because of that, I'm going to jump all the way on this side like that Georgia Tech defender did, and Jacoby George had nowhere to go because he ended up running right into that corner. Because the corner thought, you're not going to go on that side. I don't have help over there. So what Kiko ended up doing on this play is he runs up on this guy out of control, knowing his help is on the left side. He runs up out of control and just slips and falls down. What did that do? Gave the ball carrier an opportunity to quickly go around Maui Noa without any contest at all and get into the end zone. If Maui Noa runs up and just fills that hole and stands there, that running back is not going to be able to get into the end zone because he's not going to be able to get around Kiko as quickly as he did. And then once Kiko breaks down in that hole, if that guy does end up getting around him, the time that it now takes allows your help to get over there to make the tackle. I'm a novice in football compared to these guys. So if I can understand this, I don't get why they can't get this. It drives me crazy. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping. Maybe I'm crazy. But my guess is that y'all are seeing the exact same thing. Okay. The next play I want to talk about here is the other targeting call, which the commentator kept saying he hit him when his helmet was coming off. I mean, like, come on, man. If you've played football or basketball, you know how quick these decisions are. They are super, super quick. If you're running at somebody planning on tackling them, you're not going to say, oh, his helmet's coming off, let me stop. You have to just run right through that dude. Like, it's not like his helmet was off when he tackled him. It was starting to come off, and then when he hit him, it threw it off. But that made me roll my eyes like crazy. The next thing I talked about that I wrote down was I noticed how many times Cam missed this game. And this is like right in the middle of the second quarter when I wrote that. It's like Cam is missing a lot of players. And that's throwing over their heads, throwing behind them, throwing too low, just completely missing people who are open, not seeing them. Happened a few different times, and I put that on there. And then soon after that, Jaden Harris ended up getting hurt on a play and stayed down. So last week, I was talking about Jaden Harris, and I was saying how I'm not a big fan of his. I think that he is. The phrase that I used was a step behind or a step in the wrong direction every single play. And if you go look at that play where Jaden Harris ended up getting hurt, you'll see he was once again, like, of course I'm not happy he got hurt. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt unless you're just a crazy weirdo. But on that play, he was one step behind from making an interception. Just one step behind. Like, I'm telling you, he is the king of being one step behind or one step in the wrong direction. I don't know what that is or why that is. It just seems like, for whatever reason, that guy is always one step in the wrong direction or one step behind. Next thing I wrote down was I'm waiting on Ray Joseph. If you remember at the beginning of the season, actually before the season started, I was going through a list of different awards and stuff that I predicted or projected that would happen this year. And one of those things is I predicted that Ray Joseph would be like the big surprise on this team. Surprisingly for me, he hasn't really even sniffed the field except for punt returns. I'm waiting on him to break one of those punt returns pretty soon because the dude with the ball in his hands is lightning. He is dynamic. And I'm just waiting on him to do something on special teams to make me say, oh, yeah, there he is, you know. So it's been a little disappointing so far, just because he hasn't lived up to what I expected for him to do. A lot of it's based on opportunities, obviously, but I'm waiting on him to do something major in the special teams game. So we'll see if he can pull that off next week. The next thing that surprised me was I knew that Georgia Tech's game plan was to play keep away. I knew that they didn't expect to just beat up on Miami the entire game and just pummel them into like a 35 to 7 point, I mean, a 35 to 7 win. I knew they didn't expect that. They wanted to keep the game close and they wanted to just drain the clock as much as possible. But it shocked me. I want to know if this shocked y'all too. At the end of the second quarter, they got the ball up to the 40-yard line with maybe 35 or 40 seconds left, and they ran the clock out. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, y'all don't think that y'all should. I know you don't want to pass it. That's fine. But you don't want to run like two more run plays? You've been running all over us already in the first half for like 177 yards or something like that. So I was shocked, thankful even, that they didn't take a chance at running two more running plays to see if they could get in field goal range. But they were so scared or intimidated. They knew that they were outmatched so much that they figured, let's just go into halftime. We're leading right now. We probably didn't expect to be in this position as it is. Let's not overdo it and go into halftime. That decision shocked me. Let me know what y'all's thoughts were on that. Were you as shocked as I was, or did you think that they actually had motive or a good reason to just kneel the ball and just let the clock run out like they did? Didn't make sense to me. Yeah, that was just because they were all the way up to like the 40-yard line. I'm like, okay, whatever. UT timeout after missed throw. There was a time, actually, let's go just before that. So we had the ball and we didn't do much with it. I think we ended up getting a field goal maybe. Georgia Tech, we had the ball on a 3rd and 7 maybe. And Cam Ward snapped the ball, threw it for an incompletion. And then they ended up saying, well, wait, Georgia Tech called a timeout, so that play doesn't count. And when that happened, I was like, oh, this is almost a guaranteed touchdown. Like, I don't believe in the football guys. I believe there's one guy. I don't say the football guys, but I believe whenever you do make a mistake like that, when you call timeout where you shouldn't have, it almost always works out to hurt you in the end. So I was firmly expecting a touchdown that next play. And what ended up happening was a good pass from Cam Ward right across the middle, and then Sam Brown just dropped it. Caught it, got hit, and dropped the ball. Safety made him drop the ball, which I was like, come on, please. But anyway, the reason why I thought that was such a big play is because I knew, just like everybody else that was watching the game knew, if the Hurricanes were able to get a lead, the game was over. If we could have gotten up 2 possessions, it would have forced Georgia Tech to start throwing the ball, which they didn't want to do, and the game would have been over. That's part of why I wanted to receive the ball to start the game. I want to get a lead, go up 7-0, and then if they go 3 and out, we go up 14-0. The game is almost over from there because they're not going to continue running the ball all game and sitting on the ball all game if they're down multiple scores. So that play I thought really hurt us because it gave us an opportunity to extend our lead, and it just didn't happen. Or to take the lead, and it just didn't happen. And then we were also getting the ball after halftime. So I figured we'd get the lead with the Sam Brown score, and then we extend that lead after halftime, and that would just about end the game for us, but didn't happen. Didn't hold on to the ball. Okay, so let's talk about after halftime. I wrote down why this game feels different. We've been down big before. We were down big against California, and y'all probably think I'm crazy. But when we were losing 35-10, I felt better than I felt about our chances coming back to win this game. And we were only down just a handful of points. And if you're wondering why, it's because I felt like California was playing out of their mind. Like they were doing stuff that's just not normal for them. And I thought the Hurricanes were doing things that weren't normal for us. We were playing just horrible. And I looked at both teams and I thought to myself, this California team and this Hurricanes team, if they both play up to their actual levels, I felt like the Hurricanes were like 28 points better than them in one quarter. I thought the Hurricanes could beat them by 28 points in one quarter just based on what I watched. But then when I looked at this Georgia Tech team, they seemed like they were winning in the trenches on their offense. It seemed like they were getting just about whatever they wanted to, and we could not stop them. That 10, I think it was a 10-minute, maybe a 9-minute drive that Georgia Tech had, I think that won the game for them. And it was in the first half. It made Miami concerned about, like, can we stop them? Are they going to walk the ball up and down the field on us and run the clock out? It made our offense start pressing. It was just bad. I think that one possession is what won Georgia Tech the entire game. It made everybody on the entire field, both sides, view the game differently. It made Georgia Tech say, uh-oh, they can't stop the run against us. It made Miami say, uh-oh, we can't stop the run, so our offense is going to have to start putting some crazy points on the board. And it just made them choke. That's what happened. Okay? So let me pull up my notes once again because I got notes for days on this game. But that's why it just felt different because I really did not feel like we could stop them. I did not feel like that. I feel like when I watched that California game and it was in the fourth quarter, I was like, if we could play this game all over again, we would beat California by 35 points. Same thing with Virginia Tech. If we could play this Virginia Tech game all over again, we'd beat them by 21 points. When I watched Georgia Tech in that first half, I thought if we started this game all the way over, I think this would probably be the same results. That's how I felt. I felt like they had a strategy, and that strategy was working against what we do. We like to throw the ball. We like to put up a bunch of points, and our run defense is not the greatest. Our tackling is poor. So their strengths, it was like it was our weaknesses was their strength. Like it's the worst matchup possible. So I'm looking at halftime and I'm like, I don't feel good about this game because I think if we started this game all over, this exact same thing would happen. That's just how I felt about it. Third quarter, there was a 4th and 1. We had the ball, 4th and 1. I felt like Damian Martinez should have fought a little harder to get that first down, and it actually looked like to me like he did cross the first down line. But either way, it ended up forcing us to a 4th and 1. And when we took the field on that 4th and 1, right before the ball snapped, I'm thinking, why is Mark Fletcher in the game? Why don't we have Damian Martinez in the game? And the reason why I say that is because it's especially the fact that they passed the ball. So if you know that you're going to pass it, why would you put the downhill running back in that doesn't have the greatest hands and take out Martinez? Of course he is big, strong, real physical, but we've seen him line up as a receiver plenty of times because his hands are that good. So if you're going to run a 4th and 1 play action pass to the running back, why would you take out the running back that has the best hands on the team and put in the running back who's not the greatest at receiving the ball? Like, I don't get that. That's another thing where I feel like we're just being too cute. I was saying just run it straight ahead. We'll get it. So a lot of times I think we just are too cute, man. Too good, or too cute for our own good. Instead of just lining up and running straight ahead or keeping in your receiving back and doing a play action and throwing it to the receiving back, he puts Mark Fletcher in. I'm like, why would you do that? Because the thing that hurt on that play was the fact that Mark Fletcher, obviously, he showed an obvious, not issue, but he showed, and I'll just use the word issue for lack of a better word. He showed obvious issues with not being able to, or he showed a lack of experience, let's say that, in receiving the ball. When he came out, for one, he didn't turn his head quick enough. He was open as soon as Cam Ward play action and turned and looked at him. Mark Fletcher should have turned around and looked at him like, I'm open, get it to me. But instead, he had his head facing the other direction, running, run, took about 3 or 4 steps, and then he turned. By that time, Cam Ward's vision was a little impaired because somebody was in front of him. And then after that, instead of continuing to turn and coming toward the ball, Mark Fletcher turned the other direction and started running up the field. He should have cut his route off at the first down, but he ran up the field and turned and looked over the wrong shoulder. So I'm thinking, if you've got a guy in like Damian Martinez who is used to running these routes, who has really excellent hands, and he's made a few really good catches this year, I think if Damian Martinez is in that situation, he runs that route totally different, and we get that first down. But for some reason, we take out the guy who's used to catching the ball and we put in Mark Fletcher. I don't understand it. I mean, we didn't get the first down. Fourth and one, incomplete pass. Okay. Um, and then I had notes about that Jacoby George catch that I talked about earlier, where the defender just was like, "No, you're not going to go on this side because I don't have help over there." We'll skip past that since we already talked about it. The next thing that I had on here is Mark Fletcher not seeing the field very well for some reason this year. I don't know if I really should say this year, but he seems like his footing is off. Like he always slips. I don't know if it's something to do with the injury that he had in the offseason, in the spring game. Like he seems like he's always like getting the handoff and then almost falling down as soon as he's taking off. It always happens with him. Um, you can just go back. I can think off the top of my head now. The first touchdown that he scored this year against Florida. If you go look at that highlight, he almost fell down on that play. And I almost could have scored that one. It was like get the handoff and run straight ahead to the end zone. It was like an 8-yard touchdown or something like that. So he almost fell on that play and ruined it. And then I keep seeing him like this game. He kept on like almost falling down or running in the wrong hole. He just seems a little bit off right now. I don't know what's going on with Mark Fletcher, but he seemed, well, maybe it's his family stuff that's happened, and we can understand that. But I don't know what's. It just seems a little bit off. Um, Second half targeting. I don't want to talk about targeting anymore. I'm tired of talking about targeting. Oh my gosh. Um, I was thinking in the fourth. It was the third or the fourth quarter. I was like, man, we need a turnover. We need a turnover right now. And unfortunately, the reason why these teams like Georgia Tech, the reason why they are wild cards is because they run the ball almost every play. And when you're running the ball, the opportunities of turnovers drop drastically. So you're not going to force a lot of turnovers against teams like Georgia Tech. So I'm thinking, okay, we need a turnover because it seems like they are moving the ball up the field whenever they want to. They're milking the clock. We can't get the ball back. Whenever we do get the ball back, our offense feels like they have to score a touchdown, and they're just doing a little too much, pressing and whatnot. So I'm thinking, we got to get a turnover. They're not going to throw it, so we got to get a fumble. And I promise y'all, it's like 2 plays later, Georgia Tech mishandles a handoff, and they fumble. And I'm screaming, get on it, and nobody gets to it. Haynes King, is that his name? Haynes King? I don't ever want to say his name ever again. He's trash if you ask me as quarterback. He's a pretty decent running back, I guess, but he mishandles the running. He mishandles the handoff. They fumble, and it looks like we should have had 2 Hurricanes that could have jumped on that ball, but they just reacted so slow, and they ended up getting back on the ball. But I think recovering that fumble would have won the game for us. We already had momentum going as it was. It was a one-score game. Jumping on that ball, we go down there and score again. And Georgia Tech probably feels like, man, we expected them to come back. They did. Now the game's over. But it gave them life because they ended up scoring right after that. There's a touchdown play I want to talk about next. Georgia Tech had the ball third and long. And this was in the fourth quarter. They had the ball third and 16, third and 17 maybe. And this is a must throw. And I'm like, okay, we're making them throw the ball and they can't throw the ball. This is beautiful. Maybe this is going to be an interception here. But I'm guessing that the coach probably said, if you don't see somebody wide open, just take the sack. We'll punt it away. Because that's the style of football that they were doing today. So third and long, and somebody comes open. I mean, wide open across the middle of the field. Wide open. If you go look at that play, I think what happened was Mish Powell was the only player on defense playing zone. I think it was either late third quarter or early fourth quarter. I think it was early fourth quarter. He left him just wide open across the middle of the field, and I think Mish Powell he was standing over him before the snap. So before the snap, it was I think three players on Miami's left side of the field. And somebody went into motion. A linebacker went over, make sure they stood in front of this tight end. Mish Powell runs across, stands in front of this receiver. As the ball snaps, everybody follows their man, except Mish Powell passes his man off to nowhere. You can see him backpedal, and he like puts his hand on the receiver, and as the receiver runs that way, Mish Powell runs that way. So it's pretty obvious to me that he thought we were in the zone somehow, and everybody else was running man, and that's how he ended up so wide open. Luckily, he didn't score on that play. But anyway, um, the next thing I wrote down was how much I love the offense when we are a pass first and then mix in the run. I'm a big fan of that. Whenever we try to prove that we can run the ball on these teams, it seems like it's just we're not nearly the explosive team that we can be. And that's how I feel about it. I know people always say, we got to keep them honest. You got to keep them honest. I understand that. And that's why I say I prefer us to pass first and then mix in the runs occasionally. Surprise them with a run every now and again, but we should be a pass-first offense. The second half, we came out, we ran the ball like 5 straight times, I think it was, and then we ended up turning the ball over on downs, if I'm not mistaken, or putting the ball away. I think we've got to just be aggressive the entire time, looking down the field, looking like spreading these players out and getting players in open space and scoring touchdowns that way. When we try to do this downhill running thing, it just doesn't quite work for us. It never did. That's what happened to us in the first half of the Cal game, and that's what happened to us the first half of the Virginia Tech game. And then once they get down and they feel like they have to throw the ball, that's when things start going well. It's happened every year, or I'm sorry, every week so far. 3rd and 7 in the fourth quarter, we had the ball, driving, trying to score. We're down 2 scores at this point, and we're trying to score a touchdown. 3rd and 7. On this drive, we ended up turning the ball over on downs. But if you looked at it on 3rd and 7, Cam Ward just missed Damian Martinez coming out of the backfield. I don't know how much time was left in the game. I forgot. Maybe it was like 8 minutes left, so you can go look at that play. But 3rd and 7, Martinez comes in the back. He comes out the backfield wide open. And Cam Ward, I don't know if he didn't see him or if he was just looking for a bigger play down the field or something. He just totally missed him. And then he came back to him and ended up throwing it to Sam Brown maybe. Maybe that was the fourth. I don't know if that was 3rd down or 4th down. I think that was the 3rd down. Yeah, it was 3rd down because he ended up getting sacked on 4th. So if he would have seen Martinez come out the backfield, hit him, it would have been an easy 1st down, potentially a touchdown. It happens, man. You know, he's not Superman. He's not perfect. He's going to miss some people. I just wanted to highlight that play because I thought that was a major play in the game. Then Xavier Restrepo touchdown. I hope that these young wide receivers watch that play the way he ran that route. The reason why Xavier Restrepo is one of my top 10 favorite players ever for the Hurricanes is because he doesn't do a whole lot based on his stature. He's not like this big, strong, super fast guy. He's none of that. He is really quick, but he runs his routes so exceptionally. And the things he do is not rocket science. It's just so textbook, people fall for it. So he runs up about 12, 13 yards, runs an out play. He does an out route. And while he's doing the out route, he turns and looks at the quarterback. And when the cornerback sees the receiver turn and look at the quarterback, it makes the corner say, oh, the ball's about to come out. And what did he do? He jumped on it. He bit it. Double move. Xavier Restrepo turned up the field. Touchdown. I'm hoping these young receivers saw that play. Whenever you're doing this stuff, like the reason why Michael Jordan was so good is not because he was just super athletic. There's been plenty of 6'6" people who are super athletic. Michael Jordan was just able to have this athleticism and match it with a crazy level of just basic fundamentals. Like he had these crazy fundamentals in play, but then he also matched that with his athleticism, and it was unbeatable. And that's what Restrepo is doing. He's using his quickness, his excellent quickness. He's putting that on the field, but then he's also matching that with some crazy textbook fundamentals. So when he runs up 13 yards and he goes out, if he doesn't look back at the quarterback to sell that double move, then that corner won't jump like that. And when that corner jumped, he just turned up the field, touchdown. So let's go ahead. I'm almost through all the stuff that I've written down here. Um, Georgia Tech. Let's see. Oh, so towards the end of the game, actually right there towards the end of the game, Kiko got a tackle for loss, and it looked to me like he just guessed right on that play. He guessed right finally because he's been guessing a lot this season. And that play, I was like, yeah, buddy, he definitely guessed right. He ran past the quarterback who could have potentially had the ball. And he ran past a running back who went that way who could have potentially had the ball. And he ran right past them, ended up tackling the guy who had the ball for a loss of maybe 2 or 3. That was beautiful to see. It's never a good idea to guess, but I have no doubt that he guessed on that play. It just so happened that he guessed right, so that was pretty cool to see. Um, I think that some people, even though it really didn't hurt us, I'm guessing that some people were probably going crazy about Mario Cristobal's timeout at the end. We had 3 timeouts. It was likely that we were going to be in a position where we had to burn 3 timeouts on a 3 and out so we could get the ball back. So I'm sure a lot of folks are like, why did you burn a timeout? I thought it was an excellent idea to call a timeout there because the way that Georgia Tech was playing, where they were just like so conservative for most of the game, but they were just so desperate for a win. I was like, this is probably the time where they throw away this conservative mindset and they go full on desperation and they fake this punt. I felt like there was no better time to fake a punt than that one right there because getting that first down would have almost sealed the game for them. So I thought it was a perfect idea to burn one of those timeouts because getting the ball back is far more important than having 3 timeouts. You know what I'm saying? If you have the opportunity to stop them right now and get the ball back, you got to do that. So that's all the stuff that I wrote down this game. It sucks to lose to Georgia Tech again. I mean, I kind of feel like Georgia Tech might be like my third least favorite team in all of college football now. After last year's game, it drove me. I really didn't like them. I don't care for their coach too much. Um, Seeing them celebrate on our home field like they did last year, and then it would have been really nice to have a crazy upset. And then the thing that was so gross to me is we had them beat last year if we'd have just taken a knee. And poetic justice would have it. So they are winning the game by 5 points. And they're right there inside the 5 yard line. And instead of running another play, they take a knee to win the game. Boy, that's crazy. Poetic justice, I guess. I don't know. It was heartbreaking. It sucks. But I also believe, like I said at the beginning of the game, this is a game that we should just throw away, move on, forget it. The other teams that we could potentially face, let's say if we get into, for one, there's a huge chance that we're going to make the playoffs because we went out, we get the ACC championship, we win that game, we're going to the playoffs. So relax, okay? Um, it it sucks to lose, obviously, but we're still in an excellent position to be able to get in the playoffs. That's my main focus. I want to win the ACC this year, and I want to get in the playoffs. And this doesn't change those goals too much. It does take away the cushion that we had because it was one of those situations where it looked like we could potentially lose one game and still make it to the ACC championship. It also looked like if we went undefeated in the regular season and lost the ACC championship, we could have been an at-large, maybe. But now it's like we have to win the ACC championship. A 2-loss Miami team is not going to get in. No way possible. Especially as much as they love the way that they love the SEC, they're not letting a 2-loss ACC team get in there. It's not happening. So I don't think a whole lot changes here. I do firmly expect for this Hurricanes team to win these next 3 games. So that's Wake Forest. This is the top of my head. Wake Forest. And then we would play Syracuse. And then I guess it's the ACC championship, right? So I believe we'll win those next 3 games and go on to the playoffs. And we'll see what happens then. So, yeah. Throw this game away, y'all. Let's throw it away. Focus on the next one. We'll be just fine. That's all that I got for you today. I appreciate you watching the video. Please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all support. I don't know if y'all can hear my kids out there. They going crazy out there doing something. I don't know what it is. Maybe you can hear it in the background. But thank y'all for watching the video. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, and I truly appreciate that. So take care, and God bless. Peace.